Well, not your typical two-hitter in that spot. She leads the team with home runs. You just mentioned 15 onto the season. And a lot of times you're going to see somebody that's a lefty, is someone speedy, put the bunt down. But in this situation, they've seen that Hassler has been really good for them in that 2 spot. I know she mixes sometimes with Rosie Davis, who in this game and yesterday is hitting in the 3rd spot.
Swing and a miss. Tremendous pitch there from Heron to get ahead 0-2. Now the season-long ERA for Heron is impressive as it is at 2.50, but she got off to an amazing start. Her first 7 outings this year had a .42 ERA. That's 2 earned runs in 33 innings. So they'll hope she has an appearance that mirrors those here against Oklahoma State. And she gets a swing and a miss. A ball that was never touching the strike zone. And Kennedy Miller finishes off the strikeout. 2 up, 2 down.
Well, if you can start getting these hitters to swing at balls in the dirt like that, you know that you just have to get ahead. I mean, this ball, it bounces early, and in that situation, you see Hassler with the big swing right there. And I think with really spinny pitchers that have a lot of break, you got to make sure you're not swinging too big as a hitter.
Rosie Davis digs in, a 2-for-3 afternoon for her yesterday with a walk, scored 3 runs.
And there's that off-speed pitch. I think probably a little higher than Heron was planning that. She gets that called for a strike, but I think you'll see if she continues to throw that, she'll get settled in with it.
She goes off the plate, gets a swing and a miss, and a 1-2-3 first inning for Heron with a pair of strikeouts. And Arkansas coming to the plate next. Bree Ellis' first plate appearance of the day.
A rise ball, but it just seemed like her location was off yesterday. She was very frustrated.
And if you look at the way that averaged out over 3 innings, she threw 62 pitches. I'm sure in an ideal world, she'd love to be 6 to 10 pitches in an inning instead of 20 pitches per inning. Working through an Indiana lineup that was not an easy one to face. The best batting average and the best slugging percentage in the country. We'll see the Hoosiers later on today. Here to start for the Razorbacks, it's the center fielder Reagan Johnson. And how about this? There is no one in right field, and instead 3 defenders on the left side of the infield.
Yeah, and that tells you a couple things. Obviously, it's not just how they know the hitter hits, it's also how we are going to pitch the hitter that's at the plate. So you know as a hitter when this is happening that you're not trying to pull it because no one's there unless you get it inside, but most likely they are going to pitch you outside and stay away. When you see Ruby Malin just throw her arm, she's trying to get that release point. We saw her when she was pulled out of the game yesterday in between innings while she was in the dugout. She's over in the bullpen and she just kept shaking her head. She was working on that release point.
Couple fouled away, a check swing, and she holds up according to Jonathan DeWurst.
As a drop ball pitcher, releasing on time is really, really important. And she talked to us about how she feels it off of her fingertips.
Now 3-2. Now part of why this defense works too, normally you think you might be sacrificing something, pulling an outfielder into the infield. Well, just to the left of second base is Rachel Hathoot, who started the game in left field, but she comes over from New Mexico playing the infield throughout the course of her career. So this is a natural spot for her. Tapper, third base. Edwards has no throw, and Johnson is safe with an infield single. She worked an 0-2 count to 3-2 and turns it into a leadoff base hit.
Well, and normally she is going for the harder hit, but they had 3 infielders, like you just mentioned, on that left side. And so this time she ends up just soft slapping it and has so much speed. They don't even have time to make a play, make a throw. That is what happens when you have the speed as a slapper like Johnson.
Executed to perfection from one Reagan to another Johnson to Kramer. And now you got to worry about the stolen base too. We saw Johnson steal her 20th in 22 tries yesterday. Kramer now in her senior season, 3rd-year starter in left field after hardly playing at all, just 7 at-bats in her freshman year.
And that pitch right there, outside corner, a little above the waist, that was the pitch that actually Taylor Minnick pulled to right field and took out of the park. And so you got to make sure that you're keeping these hitters at least guessing on where that ball is going to be if you miss.
Swing and a miss at Malin's 1-2.
And that pitch had break. Same spot, but a little more jump late. Really good rise ball. And it sets it up when you get ahead of the hitters. That was good late break on the rise, just above the bat of Kramer.
And you were talking about this yesterday, sitting on one or the other of those 2 pitches. And here is Bree Ellis, the SEC Player of the Year, 26 home runs this season. She takes ball 1 to start. We'll see how Malin wants to work or work around Bree Ellis, which is mostly the case yesterday. And it's time for a chat between Hassler and Malin.
Well, and I think you have a game plan. They've already done their research and their homework. Obviously, everyone knows Bree Ellis and that she has power to all fields. So they have a game plan coming in. And I think right now in this situation for Arkansas to see if they're going to allow her to swing away or if they will send Johnson and see if she can get into scoring position for Ellis.
Sometimes it can be counterintuitive to say, well, you've got your best hitter at the plate, don't send the runner. But with the success that Johnson has, they feel pretty comfortable with her taking that base.
She gets just a little too under that pitch, shaking her head. And this is what great pitchers do, right? They bounce back. After the day that she had yesterday, I have no doubt that Ruby was saying, Coach, give me the ball. Let me have another shot at this. I want to settle in. I know I can lead our team.
And it certainly seemed like yesterday, you know, she went down to the bullpen after she came out of the game after 3 innings, continued to throw, in part to stay loose, just to keep her body ready if she needed to come back into the game. And then that 6th inning blew the game open, and they didn't need her as Riley Crandall got the job done. Bree Ellis doesn't see much in the way of strikes. She's 5 pitches, takes the walk, and it's her 3rd free pass here in the postseason.
Well, if you're the Cowgirls, you're thinking, okay, nothing hurt in that situation. Infield still has the opportunity now to turn 2, especially up the middle. So we'll see how they pitch against Day, but you know, nothing hurt in that situation.
Courtney Day, the senior, first-year Razorback, yesterday extended her on-base streak to 16 in a row. Transferred in from the University of Texas by way of the University of Mississippi, where she was injured. Battled some back issues, never really felt like she was at full strength, far away from home. And so after the fall season last year, went and became a teacher for a year, and now has found a great home here in Fayetteville. The Razorbacks looking to take an early lead. Instead, it's a chopper back to the circle, and Malin takes her time, gets the out over at first base. There are 2 away and 2 in scoring position.
I tell you what, there's just a completely different demeanor today with Ruby Malin in the circle. And even in her at-bat pitching against Ellis, she just keeps shaking her head. Yes, she's feeling it. And it's so important as a pitcher. She has, you know, just 200 innings. This is her 200th inning of the year pitching in the circle for them. But that's what you want out of your pitcher, is to just see her shaking her head yes, as opposed to what we saw yesterday when she was frustrated.
Right fielder Kaylee Wyckoff drove in 5 yesterday. What helped her so much was that Ellis and Day were on base in front of her so much because of the walks that they took. But back to what you said about Ruby, what does it take to get there from yesterday not feeling great to today having the confidence that she is?
Yeah, I think really the biggest thing was the feel, and that's why when she talked to us when we coming into this weekend, she was saying about just rapsodo and spins and feeling it out of her hand. And then yesterday when she was just frustrated, I think she just had an off day. And you just don't want it to be at regionals, right? And so I think it really was getting back in the bullpen, throwing the extra pitches. And I had no doubt that today would be a different day, because for some reason, some days it's just off. And again, postseason is not when you want that to happen. But her team was able to pull out that win yesterday. And we know that Riley Crandall came in and did a phenomenal job for her team.
That's a sign of being elite, too. Knowing yourself well enough to be able to make those corrections and do it in less than 24 hours. Her dugout thought that might have been strike 3. Instead, 2-2.
Yeah, that was a really nice location on the lefty. That ball, I think that's the right call on that. And tough to lay off that as a hitter as well.
Similar look to the pitch that got Reagan Kramer swinging.
It needed to get hot, and she's doing it at the right time.
Boy, and that is, you know, the bottom of the first, talking about not having a good day for Ruby Malin in the postseason. That was the inverse for Carly Godwin, was finding her swing here after just 5 home runs during the regular season and getting going against the Hoosiers yesterday. Look out. That one came up and in and got the mask on the home plate umpire, Phil Friels.
Wow, that has to hurt right there. He's giving
He says,
the
I'm
thumbs
good.
up.
I'm good.
Does not feel good. This rise ball again just gets a little too high, straight into the mask.
Smoked him. Now we got time. It's a communication device issue, I believe, or at least a glove there for Kennedy Miller.
As they receive the pitch call, got to make sure that's working so everybody knows what's coming.
Aaron got ahead 0-2, 3rd time already in 4 batters before that one that came upstairs. And even if we do eventually have a delay like this for a pitch communication device, it's far better than what it used to be, of looking over to the dugout, get the signals, relay them in. The game moves along a lot better this way. Robin Herron has struck out 2 of the first 3 she's faced. She knocked down a couple of pins with that.
Well, and I think this is the hitter they really do need to be most careful with right now. We saw the difference that she gave, and with her home runs, how she kept Oklahoma State within reach.
Hard swing, and McDowell takes care of it over at third base.
It's a really good location to be able to come in and get on the hands of Godwin, not letting her extend.
There's a string of 3 straight left-handed batters. It starts with the DP, Claire Tim. Started the day at 257. Last year, a 324 hitter. Was one of 5 Cowgirls a year ago to hit at least 10 home runs.
And I just feel like when you have a really good curveball like Herron has, and she's a left-handed pitcher, to me, like, that is the hardest, one of the hardest, if not the hardest, pitches to hit when it breaks away from you.
How come?
Because you're thinking, okay, the ball's coming online, I'm going to swing. But as a lefty, the ball actually, the way it's breaking away, I guess it would be the same a right-hander that faces a right-handed pitcher that has a really good breaking curve ball.
1-2 in the gap, left center field. Kramer's over to make the play. 2 gone. All 5 retired for Robin Herron. And one of the things that she talked about too is the tunneling of her pitches, which is when it comes out of her hand, multiple pitches can look the same because of the release point, the way they come out of her hand, the way that they break, especially with her changeup. She's talked about making that more spinny so that it looks a lot more like a breaking pitch.
When it's so much harder as a hitter to pick that up when pitchers are able to look the same on the different pitches.
Oh, it can make you look silly because you think it's something coming in at high velocity. Your swing is fast, and you might be well out in front of the ball.
Yeah, it's really just as a hitter being able to pick it up out of the release point and track it, and as well as picking up what spin is actually on the ball. And I think the biggest thing too, you know, saying that it's harder, that's a good inside location, just missing. But I think really there's not a lot of lefties out there that you face. And I think so just the fact that it doesn't happen as often, and then you see that pitch that you're really not used to seeing that often.
Talon Edwards, the junior third baseman out of Moore, Oklahoma. About 75 miles from campus, biology major. With 2 away and the base is empty, top of the 2nd inning.
And just that move right there, right? You have 2 strikes, so you know you have to protect, or excuse me, sorry, 1 strike. But you saw that she was able to hold back, but she almost wanted to go for that. And that ball's not even close, it's in the dirt.
Now 3-2, well, what does that tell you?
Well, it just tells me that out of the hand, it looks really good. And we saw, obviously, that strike out in the dirt to Hassler, right? And that ball bounced, and so it wasn't even close. And yet, you want to go for it because out of the hand, it looks like it's going to be a good pitch to hit.
The Cowgirls trying to make their adjustments here as they go through the lineup for the first time. And she is fired up to draw that base on balls. Your first base runner.
Well, nice piece of hitting to be able to get on base. They know that that's the fight. They knew they have to start early, and especially when you're facing a pitcher like Herron.
Sophomore right fielder Tia Warsop. They bring the corner infielders in against her. Great speed. Highest average on the club at 352. Was hitless yesterday, but did come in to score a run, which is what we saw right at the top of the broadcast. She scored on a ball that went to the backstop, bounced right back to the plate, and she came all the way around from second base. Talking to head coach Kenny Gajewski about that play before the game, I asked, you know, is that a play where he coaches third base? Are you waving her in on that, or is that just instinct? He goes, that has nothing to do with me. That is the type of play where you've just got to be able to read it and go. And it was as close as you could possibly get at home plate on that play.
Yeah, it really is. And you don't have time to make that decision if a coach is telling you. You really have to see it, read it, and then go. You got to commit completely.
So Gajewski huddles with his hitters. Courtney Deifel, the head coach for Arkansas, who also handles the pitching staff. The impetus for that timeout here with a 2-0 count against Warsop, 2 away. And Oklahoma State's first base runner, Talon Edwards, over at first. So perhaps we're settling in for a lower scoring affair than the last time that these teams played 4 years ago, a 12-11 final score. Imagine the emotions he felt yesterday. They go down 2-0, 2 batters into the game, end up trailing by 4, and pound out 7 runs in the 6th. This team picked to win the Big 12 this year and finished in 4th place. Warsop on a 2-1, delivers it on the ground, second base, and the inning is over. So Herron retakes control and turns it back over to her offense. Ella McDowell to lead it off for the Razorbacks. He's going to be a stunning upset somewhere, just not where it's going to happen. But that's a Southeastern Louisiana team that they lead the country in triples, stolen bases. So if they get on, they really make it scary for the opposition. And they've held back some of their best pitching too. Meanwhile, we mentioned those 15 and 16 national seeds, Alabama and Oregon. The Ducks were a winner yesterday, 8-0 and 5 against Weber State. But today is where the tests really come in those winners bracket games like we have right here. And underway at the Rhodes House in Tuscaloosa, Alabama and Virginia Tech. And it was Virginia Tech out to an early lead, but Callie Hevlin with a 2-run homer gives the Crimson Tide a lead in the bottom of the 4th inning. Oregon later on today will face their big test against Stanford.
When you mentioned Hevlin, and you know, I think it's those big time name players that have that experience that really are the ones that know how to get it done when it matters the most. And so I'm not surprised to hear that name making a difference.
Well, and add on to that tally now, it's 4-2 Alabama, doing it with younger players too. The speedy Audrey Vandegrift just delivered an RBI single, so it's 4-2 Alabama. And this is, I think, somewhat the game we expected here. Bottom two, the two best pitchers for both teams, and just one base hit between them so far.
Yeah, and that's why every day is a new day, an opportunity to just get the ball back in your hand. And just seen a really good start out of Ruby, and just can tell she's feeling completely different. Your team feeds off of that as well. I think defensively, right, you want the best for your pitcher in the circle, but ultimately, like, they have to get things going, and you see the energy she brings.
Base hit left field. Kennedy Miller comes through, going after the first pitch. Not a bad idea. That might be the best pitch you see in a plate appearance sometimes against Ruby Malin.
Yeah, I agree. I think you have to be able to pick out the pitch that you are going to get. This one, a little drop ball that's really just underneath the belt. So nice piece of hitting. The ball is still moving and breaking, so you got to catch it a little bit before it does have that drop on it. So good piece of hitting by Miller.
Does that change, knowing you're facing a drop ball pitcher, where you stand relative to the pitcher in the batter's box?
Yeah, you'll see some hitters, they'll either move up closer or further back, deciding either to say, hey, I'm going to make her elevate her drop ball, right? If you go further back on the plate, usually they are thinking they have to, in order to get the strike over the knees, they have to be able to elevate it a little bit. Gives you a little longer to decide and lay off that pitch that's going underneath your bat. And I, you know, again, you move up or back, but with a pitcher that's throwing high 60s, low 70s, I think the idea would be like it's a little easier to go back than up.
And who's 6 feet tall on
yeah,
top of that, so her
true.
release point is already closer to the plate. She's ahead 0-2 here on Riho. Wanted to see if she would chase a rise for the second time in a row. The shortstop holds back. So both base hits belong to Arkansas. Reagan Johnson, the infield single in the first. Kennedy Miller here. And Riho turns that away. Still 1-2.
Well, even when Ruby Malin throws the drop ball and it might start out a little bit higher, it still will have that down break. So it's still a unique, different pitch because of the movement that she's able to get on it. And she credits working with Carrie Eberly, the pitching coach at Oklahoma State, as well as Rapsodo, just showing her what that spin looks like.
It's a great mentor to have at Carrie Eberly in her second season. Former Big 12 Pitcher of the Year, an ACC Pitcher of the Year at Virginia Tech, where she started her career, pitched 2 years in Stillwater. 2-2, Riho battling away.
And Coach Kenny Gajewski could not say enough about Carrie Eberly as well as Vanessa Shippey-Fletcher, who works with the hitters. But Eberly, as a pitching coach, he said, these two young coaches are two of the best in the game. They are brilliant. And we heard that from Ruby. And I'll tell you, when you get a pitcher underneath you to buy into that, you know you can make great things happen.
Riho, first base, going to be a close play, and there isn't one at first base. Godwin got caught in between. Thought Malin might be able to cover the bag, and instead, it's an infield single for Riho, who was down with 2 strikes, fouled him away, and with weak contact, still gets on board.
Well, this is a miss-hit ball out in front, that drop ball going in the dirt, and because Godwin goes over so far to her right, there's just not enough time to be able to get back and make that play. Malin frustrated at that, and I think she's probably telling herself, I just got to get there a little bit quicker and just got to sprint as soon as I see my first baseman off the bag. I'm not sure they would have had that play either way.
No, it would have had to have been perfect to be able to make that out. So first and second for the number 9 hitter, Carly Davison. First-year transfer from the University of Utah, the California native. Goes after the 1-0, chance for 2. Edwards steps on the bag, throws across the diamond, and Ruby Malin gets out of a jam again. Well, we saw it in the 7th inning yesterday. A ball hit up the Cousins, Leah Miko with you, and Rachel Hathoot leading off 8-9-1 in the lineup for the Cowgirls. Looking for their first base hit against second-team All-SEC starter Robin Herron. Hathoot out of Albuquerque, graduate transfer from the University of New Mexico. She's out on just a couple of pitches. The Women's College World Series returns to Oklahoma City. The action starts Thursday, May 29th, noon Eastern on ESPN. For more information on the 2025 Women's College World Series, go to NCAA.com, the official online home for all 90 NCAA championships. Folks are gobbling up that gear here on the concourse inside Bogle Park. Tell you what, it is a great, elite atmosphere here.
Yeah, such a beautiful day, and I've just seen the fan base come out. Outfield fence just scattered with so many fans out on the berm.
Yeah, I was happy we just got a good parking spot today. We got here a couple hours early, but
yeah,
folks lined up for when the gates were open to get their seats here. And if it's anything like yesterday, the opportunity to catch a home run ball or 2. 3-0 to Megan Bloodworth. There were some great catches out on the berm yesterday, too.
It was a perfect spot to be out there yesterday.
I don't think anybody who caught a ball was even wearing a glove. It was just, I'm winging it. If I have to go to the ER, so be it. Well, that was an un-Herron-like sequence there as she misses 4 in a row to Bloodworth, puts her aboard, and it goes back to the top of the lineup for Delgadillo.
When you wonder if Delgadillo, with her speed, we saw her lay down a nice bunt yesterday, if she'll try to do that with Hassler behind her in the power, try to move the runner that just got on by the free pass.
But Ellis has to hold the bag over at first base, so it's McDowell who comes in, and Delgadillo gets underneath that first pitch.
And she showed it a little earlier, so more of a sack than a drag bunt in that situation, knowing, hey, we got to take our opportunities when we can. When we get runners on, we've got to find a way to move her to second base.
She swings away, 1 hop, shortstop, Riho to Davison, and it's a fielder's choice at second base. Arkansas will gladly take that, pushing it to out number 2, keeping a runner over at first. Two out, power hitter at the plate. Similar situation to what we saw earlier with Reagan Johnson and Bree Ellis. Would you send Delgadillo in this spot?
I think in this situation, you might have to take your chances, knowing now that you have 2 outs, because again, that gives you the potential, and if not, even if she's thrown out, you would start out with Hassler leading off the next inning.
And who knows if 1 run is going to be enough to win this game with 2 elite pitchers. 33 steals this year for Delgadillo. Ball in the dirt, she's on the move and in easily, almost overslid the bag there, but hangs on. And so she is the first Oklahoma State player in scoring position this afternoon.
Yeah, and I think you're going to give yourself those chances. But the fact that as soon as this ball was in the dirt, that's a no-doubter. Plenty of time to get there, like you mentioned, almost a little too far, but able to hold on to that.
34th stolen base of the year for Delgadillo, a native of Riverside, California. I mean, 51 more than the next player is jaw-droppingly good.
I mean, it's not a surprise when she's going, but the fact that everybody knows she does that and she still does it is just phenomenal.
1-2 to Hassler. And she gives this a ride left field, hit well and off the wall. Delgadillo's automatic to score. And it's 1-0 Cowgirls. Hassler with the RBI, smoked off the wall in left field.
Well, with 2 outs in that situation, that is what the difference is made with her speed. Being able to get to second base when they were not able to advance in the last when she put the bunt down. But this hit is why Hassler in that 2 spot is so deadly, because she takes this ball off the left field fence. What timely hitting in that situation.
That's how you know you hit it really well. You hit it through the wall and you only end up at first base because you hit it so hard.
Yeah, and I mean, that situation right there, again, they manufactured that by being able to have Delgadillo get to second.
Goodness, with how fast she is and 2 out, she might have been able to score from first on that ball, even though it was hit toward left field. Kramer knew it was going to be over her head right away. Rosie Davis, she struck out her first time up. Throw over to first. Ellis wasn't exactly sure where Hassler was, and she gets into second base. The momentary delay by Ellis glancing over her shoulder cost Arkansas.
Well, what a great piece of base running. Getting that big jump and then realizing I'm stuck there, and it's that turn. I think the fact that Bri Ellis turns back, which is what a lot of right-handed first basemen will do, and you've got to be so quick you can't hesitate.
So Hassler in scoring position on only her 3rd stolen base of the season. Was not surprising to see Delgadillo do it. It is surprising to see the catcher do it.
When Heron came out just firing, moving the ball so well, and I think the second time through the lineup, you got to find different ways to get these hitters. That ball.
Some drama at home plate with Phil Friels and a slightly delayed strike call.
Yeah, and I think Rosie's thinking that felt high. It looked a little bit high, but it seems like that's the pitch that Friels has been giving behind the plate.
3-2 with 2 out, and it's a called strike 3. Heron rebounds after giving up the run, picks up precedent. All 19 teams have gone to supers, which Arkansas has not done either of the last 2 years, and only 3 of those 19 teams have even dropped a game here in regionals. And coming out of the gates in SEC play, it was not a certain path for Arkansas this year. They were 1-5 in their first 2 series, and then in their next 6 series, they won 13 out of 18 games. And in those 6 series wins, too, they scored almost 7 runs a game.
Yeah, and you like it when your bats are hot and they're working, and it seems like they've been on that upswing here in the postseason.
Johnson reached on an infield single her first time up. This is right to Malin, who retires the speedy center fielder.
But Coach Deifel talked to us. She knew, like, the fact that if they did match up with Oklahoma State, even though what others would consider a down year for them, she knew they have experience, a pitcher that Ruby Malin is in the circle for them, and just knew that it is going to be a battle. And so I think you want to see your hitters be able to respond, especially this inning after going down a run.
Well, it'll be fascinating next inning. We're going to talk with Kenny Gajewski. We're going to talk with Courtney Deifel about what they're seeing and the adjustments as this game goes along. Oklahoma State putting up one here in the top of the third, and now Arkansas with the top of the lineup, where two of the first three reached in the first inning as they try and answer. One other thing to keep an eye on here too, as they go through the lineup the second time, is what adjustments do the hitters make, and also what do the coaches think about how their pitchers are doing, seeing a lineup for the second or maybe the third time later on in the game.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's really going with your gut feeling. You can have a plan coming in, but you really want to see how the game is working out. And you can have a pitcher like Malin, and she's continuing to attack these hitters. I think you want to stick with that. I think it gives them a little confidence. Yesterday, Riley Crandall came in, was able to get the win yesterday for Oklahoma State, and came in when Ruby was struggling a little bit. She did give up a 3-run home run, but after that, she had 3 straight innings, just 1, 2, 3, and so really settled in nicely.
Kramer takes a strike, and it seems like right now the hitters are having difficulty discerning where the edges of the strike zone are. So it's a 3-2. And it's ball 4.
And it's really hard, especially when you're trying to be a patient hitter, when that ball's being called and it's up and you want to lay off that. And everybody's got to get some popcorn when you're at the ball field, right? But as hitters, it is hard because you're still trying to stay within reason. But when you get 2 strikes and you know that the umpire at home plate, Friels, is calling the up pitch, you've got to be able to battle and try to foul that pitch off.
So here's Bree Ellis. By the way, for the record, there are certain foods that are good, snackable in the 90-second windows we have between innings. Popcorn, for as good as it is not one of them, because a kernel always gets stuck in your throat. Ellis so far hitless here in this NCAA tournament, but has not seen many pitches worth swinging at either. She walked her first time up, out in front of this one, a mile high and way foul.
When they were coming up and in with the rise ball and then just trying to take away extension for her. We saw the mix of the rise ball, and then at that point, way outside. So they didn't give her anything close to hit besides early in that at bat.
It was really interesting to hear her own personal retelling of her evolution as a hitter from the first 2 years of her career to these latter 2 at Arkansas, and how she's really developed more of a plan as a hitter. And you can see that the stats are self-evident. And she's got it to 3-2 now. But she said as a younger hitter, I would go up there and just say, I'm going to foul away anything that's on the inner half of the plate, anything toward my hands, because I can't get around to it. And I'm going to wait till a pitcher makes a mistake on the outside part of the plate. She's never hit fewer than 14 home runs in a season, but the adjustments that she's made here at Arkansas had to happen, she said, because good pitchers were going to recognize where her weaknesses were, and now she's taken that away.
Yeah, I agree. You get to that highest level and you see how they're trying to hammer that inside part of the plate still, because so much of her power really is when she's able to get to full extension. And so part of that is saying, okay, can I set it up? And then can I try to somehow be able to get her just a little bit enough on her hands?
Fifth plate appearance of the weekend for Bree Ellis. She's seen 27 pitches in total. And she's got Kramer as a tying run at first, 1 down. She walks again.
Well, and I think it's hard as well. You got to make sure you're really locating well when Bree Ellis is at the plate, because she does stand so far off the plate. She knows she can still reach the pitch that's on the outside corner, but it feels like as a pitcher when she's so far off that it just is going to be down the middle if you hit that inside corner. But nice piece of patient hitting by Ellis to take what you're given.
sets up Courtney Day with 2 runners on and 1 out. Ellis has hit 26 home runs this year, but Day, in a rejuvenated year, has blasted 16 of her own. He's late on the first pitch.
And she's got a lot of pop in that spot, and a hitter that really has to have that in order to protect a hitter like Bri Ellis in front of her. You look at those numbers and just getting on base, that RBI, so it's the top of the lineup getting on base, and then Bri Ellis, Courtney Day, the 2 that have come through clutch.
Everybody doing their job. It's not unique to Courtney Day, but it is always funny to hear who it is on the team. Gets called grandma as the oldest one. Especially she took the year off last year from playing college softball in the spring. When it became a teacher and found a good fit here. Really embracing it in her last go-round. Malin wants time. Much more confident version of herself in the circle than she was yesterday in a short 3-inning stint.
And as a hitter, you know that she's drop and rise, but because the ball jumps so well, it's hard. You pick it up, you see the ball up in the zone, and you get your hands there, but you gotta know, you gotta make sure that as that ball's rising that your hands are high enough.
And that preceding pitch before that one, I think that might have been the highest rise that she's thrown all afternoon.
Yeah, it's just breaking so much more today than we saw yesterday. It was much flatter yesterday.
Her 4th 3-2 pitch of the day. Into the gap, right center field. Delgadillo's got the catch. Quick throw back in. Nearly a second inning-ending double play. Reagan Kramer testing the limits of how far she could wander off of second base.
Well, I'm a little surprised that Kramer, I mean, she was taking off, and it took her a long time to recognize she thought that ball was dropping in, and as soon as you see the speed of Delgadillo getting there, she does a nice job. I mean, the idea is you get off as far. She was thinking, I'm scoring, but she does a good job of getting back and not getting doubled up.
Well, you know, it goes true for outfielders of having to know who's a speedy base runner, who's not. Where are you going to throw? Are you going to hit the cutoff? Are you going to throw to the plate? Same goes for the runners on the base paths, too, because Megan Delgadillo of the 4 teams here is probably the fastest player in this stadium.
Yeah, I agree. And just the fact that she was shaded a little bit, I mean, she made it look so easy, and she still had to cover some ground to get there.
The 8 outs recorded by Malin, that was the first flyout. Not surprising to see with a drop ball pitcher in the circle. So a trio of terrifying hitters continues here with Ellis, Day, and now Wyckoff, who drove in 5 runs yesterday against St. Louis. Winner of this game for Oklahoma State, it gets them 1 to the regional final, and 2, Arkansas, to get to a regional final for the first time in a couple of years. Off the end of the bat, left field. Hatu lets it drop, and this ball game is tied at 1. RBI single for Kaylee Wyckoff, her 6th in 2 days.
Well, and after striking out in her last at-bat on a rise ball, she's able to get just enough of it to poke it out to left field. They've been going away from her. This time it's the ball down in the zone. And really nice piece of hitting. We saw that well-hit ball by Day, and that gets caught, but then this ball drops in. And that's a no-doubter. You're going all the way on that. Big smiles for Wyckoff.
Ella McDowell keeps it going. What's the calculus on a ball like that? You're coming in, on thinking about whether you let it drop or you dive for it, knowing that if the ball gets past you, it's a potentially catastrophic situation.
No, you have to know the game, the situation, the score, and that was the right play in that situation.
And Malin gets the pop to the right side of the infield. We saw yesterday for Rosie